Let's dive into a really powerful idea from the US Army. This idea that their greatest weapon isn't some high-tech gadget or a new tank. Nope, it's a well-developed leader. And to really get why this is such a game changer, I want you to imagine something with me. A really tough, high-stakes situation.
So, picture this. A battalion gets dropped into a totally volatile region. There are no front lines, you don't even know where they are. The orders you're getting are kind of vague, and the enemy? They're changing tactics every single day. The plan you came in with? Yeah, that's useless almost the second you hit the ground. So in all that chaos, what's the one thing that actually determines whether you succeed or fail?
Well, the Army's answer is incredibly powerful, and it's dead simple. It's not about bigger guns. It's not about fancier tech. When it all falls apart, the one thing, the single thing that makes the difference is the quality of the leadership on the ground, period.
And that right there, that's the core of what we're digging into today. We're going to look at how the U.S. Army doesn't just hope for good leaders. They have a deliberate strategy to build them. They treat leadership not as some nice-to-have bonus, but as the absolute deciding factor for winning.
So, where does this strategy live? It's all laid out right here in Field Manual 622, Developing Leaders. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A field manual. Sounds like some dusty old book on a shelf, right? No way. Think of this as the Army's strategic answer to a massive challenge. How in the world do you systematically create the kinds of leaders who can win when everything is complex and totally unpredictable? And right at the heart of this whole thing is a really powerful philosophy. The Army isn't just sitting around waiting for so-called natural-born leaders to show up. Instead, it makes a bold declaration. Leaders are made, not born. It's a skill. And like any skill, it can be taught, it can be practiced, and it can be developed in anyone who's willing to put in the work.
Okay, so that's the big idea. But how do you actually turn that philosophy into reality? Well, it all starts with a clear, structured system for development. This isn't just a bunch of random ideas. It's a real plan.
And this is where it gets really interesting. These are the 5 core tenets, the foundation of the whole thing. The best way to think about it? It's like coaching a championship sports team, right? You need total commitment, not just from the players, but from the whole organization. You need a purposeful game plan. You've got to create a culture where people aren't afraid to take risks and learn from their mistakes. And you bring it all together, classroom learning, practice drills, and real-world experience. But the most important piece? Candid, constant feedback. This is the entire ecosystem the Army builds to grow its leaders. All right, so we've got the foundation. Next up, the Army gives everyone a detailed blueprint. This is basically the master plan for what a leader is supposed to be, what they need to know, and what they have to do. And here it is, the Army Leadership Requirements Model, or ALRM for short. You can think of this as the DNA of an Army leader. It's broken down into 2 simple parts. On one side, you've got attributes. This is all about what a leader is, their internal qualities like character, presence, and intellect. Then, on the other side, you have competencies. This is what a leader does. Things like leading others, developing their people, and, of course, achieving results. Now, the key thing to get here is that this isn't just some theory in a book. This model creates a common language, a clear standard that everyone understands. It becomes the foundation for everything, for evaluations, for mentoring, for an individual soldier's development plan. It is, quite literally, the Army's way of saying, this is what right looks like. Okay, so we have the blueprint, the what. We know what a leader is supposed to look like. But the big question is, how do you actually build that leader in the real world, day in and day out? Well, this is where the doctrine gets super practical. It all comes down to this simple 4-part cycle. First, you set the conditions for people to grow. Then, you're constantly providing feedback. You use specific techniques to enhance their learning. And finally, you create real opportunities for them to be challenged. See, this isn't about sitting in a classroom listening to lectures. This is about daily practice, tough missions, and having those direct, honest conversations that actually make a difference. And I love this because it shows you just how detailed this gets. Take that providing feedback step. Leaders aren't just told give feedback. They're given actual tools like the SOAR model. This is brilliant. It gets rid of vague advice like good job. Instead, it forces a really structured conversation. Okay, here was the situation. Here's exactly what I observed you do. Now let's associate that with a specific leadership competency and assess the impact. And finally, let's reinforce what you did well and recommend what you can improve. See, it's actionable, it's specific, and it's objective. The manual also does a great job of clearing up something a lot of people get confused about, the difference between coaching and mentoring. Think of it this way. Coaching is tactical. It's about helping someone with a specific skill right here, right now. Let's fix your form on this. Mentoring, on the other hand, is strategic. It's a long-term relationship. It's about preparing that person for their entire career down the road. And a really effective leader, they know exactly when to put on the coach's hat and when to be the mentor. Okay, so let's zoom back out for a second. We've gone through all this detail, the tenets, the models, the cycles. Why? Why does all of this matter so much? Because for the Army, this is so much bigger than just professional development. It's actually considered a core responsibility, a fundamental duty. The doctrine is crystal clear. Every single leader has an obligation to develop themselves, to develop the people under them, and to develop the profession as a whole. It's not a suggestion. It's not optional. It's job number one. And that brings us right to the ultimate takeaway. In a world full of complex threats, the ability to outthink and outlead your adversary, well, that's the ultimate asymmetric advantage. This isn't just about being a good manager or running an efficient team. Developing leaders is a matter of national security. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final thought. Look, this whole framework was forged on the battlefield, for the battlefield. But these principles, they're totally universal. So the question for you is, how can you take these ideas of deliberate development, structured feedback, intentional coaching, and creating real opportunities for growth, and apply them in your own world, in your team, your company, or heck, even in your own life?